Good morning, everyone. This is Savannah Justine for Real Talk Radio, bringing you the public affairs that affect you. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. I know I am. I hope you're feeling fabulous, feeling fun, and I know you're preparing for this spring cleaning season. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about spring cleaning and what you can do to inspire yourself in your home of 2026. But today, I'm going to get into two interviews that really empowered me and excited me for what's to come and what has been. Number one, we have an interview with John Worry Ficklin, a wonderful author who told the story about his life and his ancestors' lives of 3 generations of slaves. I want to thank the White House and their historical association for giving me this interview and learning a little bit more about this. And of course, I have an interview with an executive of a grocery store, the largest African-American owned grocery store in the country, you guys. And we're going to get a deep dive about the information, the things that you need to know about what it takes to run a supermarket, and the only one at your speed. This is Real Talk Radio with Savannah Justine, bringing you the public affairs that affect you. Let's get into the show.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Real Talk Radio. I am your host, Savannah Justine, and today we are continuing our conversations about the stories that shape who we are as a nation. Now, even though February is known as Black History Month, the truth is that Black history is American history, and those stories deserve to be told and remembered all year long, including right here in the month of March. And I am going to coin it as Melanated March. Today's conversation is inspired by a powerful new book, An Unusual Path, Generations from Slavery to the White House, written by John Worry Ficklin. The book tells an extraordinary family story that stretches across its 3 generations, 8 presidential administrations, and more than a century of American history. As I was reading through parts of the book, what really struck me was how personal the journey was. It began with an author's grandfather, James Strother Ficklin, who was born into slavery in Virginia in the 1850s. From there, the story follows the family's rise through generations of perseverance, service, and dedication that eventually led them into the halls of the White House itself. This book really highlights something important and something that's very powerful with stories within American history. I am so excited to welcome our guest, John Worry Ficklin, and talk about An Unusual Path. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Savannah, thank you so much. That is a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that.
You are so welcome. This book it really moved me, and it was so powerful, and I did not know the story, but this needs to be heard. One thing that stood out to me while reading Unusual Path was the way you began with your grandfather, James S. Ficklin, who was born enslaved in the 1850s. Why was it so important for you to start the story with his life and legacy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both my dad and I stand on his shoulders. I mean,
yes.
My grandfather, it's just an incredible life. I mean, he was born at about 1855 is what we think, and he never knew his father. However, he was born enslaved. His mother was definitely African-American, and looking at him, you could tell his father was white. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he served as a water boy for the Confederate Army during the Civil War. And then after emancipation, he did some amazing things. He accumulated enough wealth to purchase 37 acres of land in Rappahannock County, Virginia, and farm and make a living. He was unfortunately widowed twice. Both of his first and second wife died in childbirth. He married my grandmother, his third wife, and had 10 children with her. And that was the beginning. I mean, my dad was the 7th child of that marriage.
I love that. In the book, you share some historical documents, including the receipt showing when your grandfather finally paid off the loan for his land. When I read that moment, it was so powerful. What did discovering and preserving those documents mean to you personally, to also have them included in the book as well?
Savannah, I was blessed. I mean, I was just absolutely blessed that my family, my aunts and uncles, kept papers and told stories. And one of my cousins actually recorded stories from my grandmother and some of his aunts and uncles. But one aunt in particular, the youngest sibling, my dad's youngest sibling that moved from Rappahannock County later, just kept paper. And you know, we tend to talk about people being pat racks, you know, but that was a blessing. I mean, that's where we found that document about the land purchase and paying off that loan early. So she was a blessing.
That is wonderful. Your father served in the White House for more than 4 decades and eventually became a head butler and a maitre d'. Growing up around in that environment, what was like seeing the history unfold from behind the scenes?
You know, Savannah, it was just my life. I mean, I was a kid. I had really no idea of the prominence of my dad until, you know, I looked back and saw him serving as an usher at President Kennedy's funeral. And as a 6 or 7 year old at that time, I was excited to see my dad on TV. You know? I was excited to see him on TV. But the impact of being, you know, an usher at a president's funeral, I mean, that didn't hit me until years later.
Man, that is so shocking. And when you describe witnessing the historical moments up close, including the funeral, what moments from that time still stick with you today?
Well, it's a sad time for our country. It was a tragedy.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I tell the story in the book about my dad not being at home for 3 or 4 nights after the assassination. And I took comfort in hearing my dad was a loud snorer, and I took comfort in hearing Dad snoring because I knew he was home. But I didn't hear that, and so I had some restless nights while he was away working. Taking care of the first family.
That is so amazing. Your family's service spans across multiple generations and 8 presidential administrations. How does that legacy shape your own decisions to pursue public service and eventually work in national security or anything else?
Well, that's an interesting story. My first summer job was in the White House as a messenger. And I was, you know, back then, I mean, early 70s, there were no fax machines or email, that kind of stuff. So paper had to be moved around manually. And so it was a good experience, you know, working as a messenger that extended summer. But that was not my goal in life. I was planning to make a living playing the drums and studying photography, working in photography. And while I was in school, I recognized a gentleman that I had seen on the White House complex and talked to him, and he talked about an opportunity at the National Security Council staff. And you know, I took the opportunity and started working in the mid-'70s. And I think 1976 is when I started working at the National Security Council. And I had no idea I was going to spend 40 years in that position. But one of the things that my dad impressed on me and my older brother is if you're going to do a job, do it the best you can. And I think I brought everything I could to this job, and which is what led to my promotion and eventually becoming a special assistant to the president for national security affairs.
That is beautiful. After reading the story, one thing that really stood out to me is how often families like yours contributed to history quietly behind the scenes. Why do you think stories like this are so rarely told?
Well, 2 things. One, I was blessed to write this story, to be in a position to write this story and document it and spread the word. A lot of people have really good stories, profound stories to tell, but they don't really get it written. And in my case, I was blessed to be in this position and to be able to write this and to get it out and find a publisher that was willing, you know, to publish my story. And you know, that in and of itself can be a challenge. But I was blessed to be able to find one or have one find me, actually, to get the story out.
Yeah. For listeners who want to pick up Unusual Path, what do you hope they will take away from this? Not just about your family's journey, but about the broader story of America and America's history.
Well, this story is my family's history. It's African American history.
Yes.
It's America's history. America is celebrating 250 years this year, later later this year. My story covers 170 years of that 250. This is an American story, and I think people will appreciate our story and learn some things. And I think perseverance, you just have to keep pushing. You have to do the best you can and persevere. Just keep moving forward.
Yes, I absolutely agree. So since you spend so much time in D.C., do you have a certain particular place you like to go to, or like a museum that's a favorite of yours that shows history in your liking?
There's one stop in D.C. that I think everyone needs to make, and that's the African American Museum of History and Culture. And that's all I need to say. I mean, it is the place to visit if you come to Washington.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John, thank you so much for coming on my show. Is there anything you want my listeners to know? Any information you can give them so they can get information about this book and all things about this history that America has?
The history is now, the book is now available on Amazon.com. It's also available at the White House Historical Association's website, shop.whitehousehistory.org.
Got you. Thank you so much. I want to thank the White House Association as well for this wonderful connection. Thank you so much, John Worry Ficklin, for being on my show. You guys, this is Real Talk Radio, and I am so glad that I could highlight this. This is one of the things that I was fascinated about, and I really wanted to share this, not just only for Black history, but for all history, all American history. You guys have a great rest of your day.
All right, welcome back to Real Talk Radio, you guys, where the conversations we have are real, relevant, and rooted into our community. Now listen, we know all grocery prices have been hitting our pockets a little harder these days. Families everywhere are trying to stretch their dollars while still putting healthy meals on the table. But there's one local business stepping up in a big way to help out and bring a little joy back to grocery shopping. This weekend, Living Fresh Market, a national, large, African-Americanly owned full-service supermarket, is hosting a deal where you could do 60-second shopping sprees. And let me tell you, this event sounds super fun. Or lucky shoppers get 60 seconds to run in the store and grab whatever groceries they can get, up to $300 worth in food. But I have somebody very, very special to explain more about the store, to tell us more information about what she does for the store and how you guys can come in and get some food. I have Miss Melody Winston here. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Now, please tell me the idea behind the 60-second shopping sprees and what inspired Living Fresh Market to start this monthly community give back event.
Well, I think it started in October, November, when the SNAP benefits had stopped serving our communities with funds needed for them to buy their groceries. And we were trying to figure out how do we help back. So we did actually partner with a few organizations, from food pantries in Forest Park and just different agencies, even in Inglewood, where we would give free produce to these communities. We would donate that. But then we said, well, let's do something in store that really makes it fun. Kind of takes, it lets you get a little easier as far as, coming in the store, relaxing, connecting with community. So we said, let's have a 60-second shopping spree, and I announced it to some of our political leadership in the community. And I mean, Speaker Welch, everybody came out. It was a little bit crazy, but it was so much fun because each representative, whether it was a 7th district rep or the Speaker of the House, they ran with our customers and helped them fill up their baskets. Well, that got a little crazy, of course, but it was well received. So we said, you know what, let's keep it. Let's do it every month. So now, 2026, we are doing it on the last Saturday every month, and we're going to keep it going throughout the year. So it's just a time for us to give back. It gives people who want to sponsor these 60-second shopping sprees a chance to to donate and give back to community in a way where, they don't. Some people don't want to be identified. Hey, I gave that $300 for that shopping spree. They just want to give, so they come up to the store and they donate the cash, and we put it on a gift card, and we save it for the 60-second shopping sprees that are on the last Saturday of the month. So it's a win-win for everybody, because the folks who win, they get a chance to give back to communities, the folks next door, the grandkids, they have so much to share with communities. So I think it's just, how do we refocus? On what community looks like. And that's what we've been able to do. So we're going to keep it going.
I love that. This event seems like it's more than just about groceries. There's music, there's food demos, there's community partners. Why was it important to make this a full community experience, as well as bringing in people to really understand what community is all about?
Well, to make it a full community experience, and we're still learning, right, through this. So I think, last weekend, the Sigma, so we had the Divine Nine come in, and as a group, they all donated to make sure that they sponsored some of these shopping sprees. But, going forward, we'd like to really home in on, the teachers in this community, or the first line, the Forest Park, fire department, or the police department here in Maywood, or wherever it is. It could be Chicagoland, as far as groups, but really being able to home in on giving and receiving and helping our fellow neighbors. So it's something that is really unfolding in a way that I love to see. My father is Dr. Pastor Bill Winston, and he's been a servant of God forever. And so I grew up in the church and have always been a servant to others. So this is just something that kind of fell into our lap, even the store, the history behind how we got the store. But it's just been lovely, to see everybody come together and support each other in a way, where there is dignity and overflow with food and just being able to be, a gift to one another is what we're here to do.
Yes, I love that. When I was doing my research about Living Fresh Market, I found out it's the largest African-American owned full-service supermarket in the country. What does that representation mean to you in the community that you serve?
So being the largest, in the United States mean that, we have a certain responsibility. We have a responsibility to be excellent in certain areas. So being a full service, meaning we have a fresh a bakery that's open 7 days a week. We have a full department of butchers who cut meat every day. We do custom cuts, and we get fresh in every day. To the hot bar, we've got Chef Raynard, who's from New Orleans, and he's bringing his Creole Cajun feel to our hot bar, and we do catering for organizations. And so the fresh part is the full service part, and then we've got the 71,000 square foot grocery store that has all grocery items, from the big name brands to our local vendors who come in, and we help them. A lot of them, we help them get their items on the shelf for the first time. So creating entrepreneurs in the community is something that we pride ourselves on doing, and Dr. Winston is all about empowerment for our vendors. He's just one that believes in legacy. And so this store is that, and being able to duplicate this store is a goal of us. We're actually speaking to the folks at North Carolina A&T about putting a grocery store on property, on the campus.
I love that.
This will be amazing. So we got to get this one all the way right.
Yes.
And so that we can go ahead and duplicate the mission, so to speak.
I love that. I really like what you said about the vendors, and with you being the largest, at one point, I'm sure you were the only. Can you tell me if there were any challenges that you faced with pricing on like vendors or things that you would get? Because I know if you're the only, you're not getting the corporate pricing of the big conglomerate stores that they're getting. Can you tell me some challenges you may have faced with being that kind of grocery store?
Well, the challenge was, one is when we first got it, it wasn't the largest, Black-owned grocery store in the nation. It was being run and managed by a third generational Italian family, actually, Leamington Foods. And so through COVID, made it very hard for them to manage that store. They had lost their founder. He had passed during COVID. And so for the family, the sons, to be able to run it got a little difficult. So at that time, I was actually the landlord of the property at Forest Park Plaza. And I was looking for a new tenant. And I asked some big name grocers, if they wanted the space, if they were interested in being a tenant. And they said absolutely they were, but they wanted to buy the building. And Dr. Winston said, we not selling. And so he said, keep the keys. And I said, oh, Dad, come on. But he said, you're well able to do this. So I found some consultants and some folks to get us on Straight Street. And we fixed the store up, we updated it, and we wanted to make sure everything was clean and smelling good, and all the equipment was working, and making sure that we looked like we were living in the new century as far as decor. And so that was a challenge. When you say challenges, and that took a minute, because you want to make sure that you're attractive, to all demographics, to all people, to all nations. And trying to figure out what inventory to carry so that we can make sure that we've got inventory that looks like the different people that we represent, in our community. So those challenges and figuring out all that for the first time in my life, and then having a team on board that believed, in the store and that it could be successful. Those are challenges for an entrepreneur, for a new business, first. To have to work out, and so now we're at a place where we're having fun, right? And we're trying to include our communities in these events to bring us back together. COVID did a good job of separating us, and now we want to kind of bring us back together. What better place to do it but in a grocery store? And so grocery stores have been the same forever, so why not a new version of what grocery shopping looks like, and be able to, now that the food industry is really homing in on processed foods, and those things, how do we teach the next generation on how to eat clean? How to eat better, and how food can be your medicine. So that's the other dynamic that we like to jump into, and just be a messenger, so that we can get rid of some of these illnesses and the high blood pressure, diabetic, and obesity, that plague a lot of our communities, not just African American communities, but as a whole, the United States has to be a healthier nation.
I love that. And when you were speaking about food being medicine, I love eating certain foods that make me feel good. And certain foods always make me feel good. And certain brands of like juices or like the juice shots or, the syrups, they're all homemade and they're all natural, and they're clean and gluten-free, vegan. They have all the good labels to them. And I love that. And growing up, my mother was very big on having me eat very fresh foods, very fresh vegetables, because I had a lot of allergies to a lot of the processed foods. And I wanted to ask you if there are brands out there that are clean, that want to be able to put their food business in your grocery store to be a vendor themselves. Who do they speak to about that?
So they can, usually I just say, if you want to be a vendor in Living Fresh Market, come on in, introduce yourself. Customer service is there. Angela's there all the time. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, even to talk to. She's been with the ministry, Living Word Christian Center, for years. She was a teacher at our elementary school, but I found her and I pulled her on over to the grocery store because she's such an amazing woman. But to speak to her about food and nutrition and introduce your product, that would be great. Come on in to Living Fresh Market. You can go to our website, www.livingfreshmarket.com, and they've got a contact us page. And so we check that all the time. But introduce yourself. We look for a one-pager from a product, who you are, and you can always, drop off or mail in a sample. They'll make sure that it gets to me, and I'll contact you back and say, hey, we'd like to talk more about your product. But we're always looking for something new. We can help showcase your product at our monthly event and talk about it and through our social media. So we're big on supporting, our local brands or independent brands that actually work well with the community. So we've got a list of folks from B-Max Seasonings. It's great. She's awesome. She's got a full seasoning product line, and she did a lot of homework because she knew that those lorries, the seasonings were going to come after her because her product is so good. So she's done the research. She made sure everything was authentic as far as the ingredients in her product. But she started out as a nutritionist, and she lost some of her sisters to high blood pressure and diabetes. And so she focused and homed in on the seasonings that we were using in our foods to make them healthier. I just dropped off a batch to my dad's house 2 weeks ago, make sure he kept his stock on his seasonings. But, different things. And these are things that people learn when they come to the store for our monthly events. They get to meet those people who created those products and who've done the work to make sure that we are living healthier.
Yes, I love that. For people who want to participate in the raffle, where do they need to sign up, and how does that process work? And looking ahead, what are other community initiatives or events that people can expect from Living Fresh Market this year?
Well, we always participate. We've got, different groups that ask us to participate in from the Juneteenth celebrations, 4th of July. We do barbecue in the Maywood Village of Maywood once a year. They have a golf event out there that we participate in. Cleo Community Center on 55th in the city. We have a June 4th event with them at Cog Hill. So we're kind of all over the place, as far as participating in events and things. But our next one is March 28th at the store from 11 a.m. To 3 p.m. That's 7520 West Roosevelt Road in Forest Park, Illinois. And if you'd like to participate in that 60-second shopping spree, come on out. Get your raffle tickets. You got to be there to win.
Yes.
And every hour we will be calling a raffle number. If you're not there, you don't answer in 3 minutes, we're calling the next one. We're moving on. We're passing you up. So don't miss out on this. You have to be a Fresh Rewards member also. So we'd like to be able to contact you and let you know things are happening. So go to our website and log in and fill out the information to be a Fresh Rewards member. It will benefit you. To be able to be a part of the communication that's happening in the store. We're doing so much for community and trying to educate our generations to be healthier, but we're also all about having fun as well.
Yes. You guys, you need to go visit Living Fresh Market. It's one of the cleanest, one of the most organized, one of the most kindest. It's such a nice space. It's such a welcoming space. And you guys, that hot bar is insane.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. It is so good. It is so good. Me and my mom, we went before and it was so good. And she brought me a plate one time and I was like, what is this? She's like, Savannah, it's Living Fresh Market. You got to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Today is Oxtail Thursday, so I got to get up there.
Yeah. I might see you there. Who knows?
I know. Shame on me.
Thank you so much, Melody, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
All right, you guys, that was Melody Winston, the executive of Living Fresh Market. You guys need to go out and visit them. They are an amazing grocery store, and you never know if you might win the 60-second shopping spree. So make sure you go to their website and check it out.
All right, you guys, this is the end of the Real Talk Radio show. I am so excited to talk to you guys next week about the things you need to do with improving your home in 2026. Of course, spring cleaning is right around the corner, and let's take out the old and bring in the new. You guys, this is Savannah Justine for Real Talk Radio, bringing you the public affairs that affects you. I hope everyone has a blessed rest of their week, and I'll see you next week.